Welcome back. We are again in the heart of Birmingham, but today it is to visit one of the world's finest gun makers. Westley Richards makes only 30 shotguns and rifles a year. They've been hand-making guns since 1812. We're gonna go inside and learn about how they make their famous drop-lock double-barreled shotgun. Now these are luxury items, a canvas for art of the highest order, craftsmanship of an incredible standard. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into their gun room to see what they have in progress. Can you imagine? Jamie, look at all of this. Look at all of these guns in progress. There's gotta be millions of pounds worth of fine craftsmanship here. Stuart, thank you very much for having us.
Pleasure.
It's very nice to meet you. Please, can you tell us, what are the steps in the making of a shotgun here?
The core steps to me would be actioning, stocking, engraving, finishing. We start with an order from a customer, what he wants, how he wants it done. All the guns we have on order, they're all purely custom jobs. This particular customer is ordered a 28 bore. The kit of parts is ordered with our sister company over the other side of our car park who produce the kit of parts.
So everything is custom, but there is a certain amount of it that can be processed from raw material efficiently before it needs the human touch.
Yes, and it gives us a lot of scope for even further customization. Barrel tubes are produced and bought. The next stage from that is the barrels are put together. I mean, you can see it physically here with these ones.
Oh, so you're talking about an incredibly complicated turning operation.
Right, this is the proper way of doing it. The modern shotguns are using what's called a monoblock. So the whole front section here is turned and machined on 5 axis. That's nothing, we don't do any of that kind of stuff. That's not our traditional way of doing stuff. We're still doing it the way that the Victorians would recognise.
Look at how complicated this is. This barrel is one piece. This had to be machined, presumably, from a big rectangular bar, turned off-center. Incredible. So the two barrels are brazed together. Then, after a little bit of machining, in order to leave room for what is called the doll's head up here, they look similar to this. This happens to be a rifle barrel in this case. And at this stage, at this level of machining, it is ready to be jointed. Jointing is the process of fitting the barrels to the action so that the shotgun can open and close perfectly. Let's go have a look at how the jointing is done.
Jim's in the process of jointing the sister gun to the 28 bore we've just been looking at.
Oh wow, and this is a matching pair.
Yeah.
Incredible. I certainly didn't expect that it was going to be chiseling to fit these things together. I mean, I would have expected filing or stoning, but it's chiseling.
Jim will probably chisel it all the way in pretty much.
You're kidding. To the extent where you'll just kind of hit it with, you know, some light sandpaper?
After chiselling,
yeah,
I will gently tidy it up with very fine files.
Do you mind if we see the chisel that you're using? Is it carbide on it, or is
Carbide, but normally I use a HSS milling cutter. That's a little bit worn, grind one of those down.
Oh my goodness.
Bigger, you know. Basically, this is one of the sort of early stages of the gun build, fitting the barrels into the action body, simply applying a layer of paraffin soot, and then this. So basically this is the early stage, we're just getting into the doll's head pocket in the action body. So you can see we've got a layer where the two surfaces touch.
Yep.
We get a bright bearing spot.
And so now that tells you you're going to chisel that material.
I know that that section's touching, so I have to carefully basically remove the steel further along, sort of into that area, and try and keep the steel that's here, because at the end of it I want it to be as close a fit as I can get it. After doing that lots and lots of times, the flats of the barrel will come down to, on a shotgun, we aim to get a gap of about 4 to 6 there.
Okay.
And eventually, when the barrels are touching, we want as good as possible bearing all around the tubes, gas seal, so it's tight. This is the action face, this is the breech face.
And that needs to fit perfectly with effectively no gap.
Yeah.
Based on how it is that you are chiseling away and allowing it to fall. And how many days into this fit up are you?
I'm about a day and a half, 2 days into this.
Wow.
So generally, a shotgun will take anything between 45 to 65 hours. Double rifle, generally more, because there's a lot more material on them. So a double rifle, a 5.77, you're looking probably at around 80 hours, 85 hours.
Incredible. And is the bulk of your work hammer and chisel?
A lot of it, yeah.
Wow. Even on the faces there?
On the face it will be files, and then we've slightly switched things up a little bit. In the last 12 months or so, we've started wire cutting the shape of the barrel lumps.
Okay.
Whereas previously, this section of the barrel, it would come to me machined for joints. It would be a solid block, and then basically I would have to work out the position of the joint pin in the body, put that in on the mill, and then I would cut those shapes out. Still use these because I have to use them for certain sections of the job, but basically using a pattern which is made to suit the body, I would then cut the waste out. We did it on the Bridgeport, cutting the hook in, but then that was basically the pattern scribed onto the lump, hacksawed out. Because you've done that, you then have to fit all these surfaces as you're going around all the way through.
Wow.
So we've saved about almost a day out of the job, probably.
I'm just always so interested when incredibly accurate things can be done with hand and eye, and incredible amounts of experience and time. This is just the tiniest chips being made. It's incredible.
But I used to say to people that, like, you know, there's gun makers all around the world. There's people right now making guns elsewhere, other companies, or right now we're the only people building a Westley gun. At this moment in time, Stu is the only man in the world doing what he's doing. I'm the only guy in the world jointing a Westley gun. So, you know, that level for people to be the only, you know, it is quite unique. And you know, there's more people up on the space station
Than there are making
today
a Westley gun.
doing this tiny little piece of work.
Incredibly special, it's incredibly unique, and with techniques and methods that are largely unchanged for a
Haven't
very
changed
long
for
time.
250 years.
Do you have a favourite brand of needle file?
The Velour.
It's always Velour.
It's always got to be
They
Velour.
always win.
So basically everything you can see there and on the bench, I will use at some point during the build.
The three-dimensional thinking that's required to make this happen, it feels inconceivable to me. It feels inconceivable that it is possible to bring these tolerances in by hand, but here you are, doing it every day. We're now going to run across the road to their machine shop to see how they machine the kit of parts for the action. Whoa! Oh, there's some nice toys here. This is a serious machine shop. So what do you have going on here? Because I mean, I've seen from the kit of parts that you've got bits that are cut out on an EDM. There's obviously lots of CNC machining that needs to be done. What are we looking at?
Right, well, first of all, we've got a wider rotor here. We've got another wider roading machine here. Right, so we've got, obviously, we double up. Got 3-axis milling machine.
Yep.
So you've got X, Y, Z, obviously milling on there. That's our full 5-axis machine. Wow. So, right, you've got an X, Y, Z with an A and a C axis, plus a 360 rotation and a C as well.
Bloody hell. Serious kit here.
So basically what we've got here is a part that's been machined all out, and as you can see you've got all the small wire eroding holes. So then what we'll do, we've obviously machined them all out, right, and then they'll go on the wiring machine, the wire will go through and it'll wire the shape out.
Incredible. So you do all the machining before you go to profiling them in the wire? Because obviously work holding after it...
Yeah. It's pre-machined before and then wired after.
They go through a lot of wire.
Right, as you can see with the actions, right, we wire these out first,
okay,
right, and then we machine them.
So you get a forged billet in.
Yeah, it's all from a billet of material, and then it's obviously machined and ground and then wired and then machined.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for showing us your workshop.
So after the jointing process, they're going to move into more of the action inside. So it's usually myself and Pete. So what we'll be doing is making all the subcomponents, such as the locks, the ejector system, the trigger system, and then starting to put those to the gun so the gun's more of a functioning gun. All right, so Pete's busy.
Hello, how are you?
You have a pair of locks in the gun to fire the hammer mechanism, which strikes the action and strikes the firing pins. This, you could say, is another set of locks.
Just headed in the other direction?
Just to eject the cartridges, and the action of that picks up on the end of the extractor and fires it off.
When was that mechanism created?
Oh God.
Was it 1890?
1890s, they're about 1870s, 1890s.
To imagine being able to design that with those tolerances, pen and paper, you know, chisel, file, hammer.
That's exactly my appreciation for the whole thing.
Pete's currently filing down the ends of the extractors that mechanism acts upon to eject a spent casing.
Like I say, it's just trial and error at the moment. Nearly there. good set of files, pretty essential.
This is a good quality set of diamond files, because
Yeah.
I can only ever find
These are hard to
horrible
find.
looking,
Yeah,
cheap
rusty.
crap diamond files. These are actually good.
These are pretty good. This is the best set I've ever used. V2, 150s, 200s, 400s.
This is an articulated trigger that Pete was working on earlier, spring-loaded. Isn't it beautiful? Thank you so much.
Thank
so
you.
grateful for your time.
Cheers.
All right, checklist, Jamie. We cannot forget anything. We're going 3.5 hours across the country. Camera packed, safety glasses,
Yeah.
hearing protection,
Yeah.
microphone,
Yeah, where am I now?
okay, SD card.
In the camera?
Got it. What's the weather going to be like tomorrow? Do we need raincoats?
The camera's actually on.
Do we need raincoats?
No, it's going to be boiling.
You reckon? Oh, crap. Almost forgot the most important part. Can't go anywhere without a delicious drink to hydrate us. You ready to hit the road, Jamie?
Yeah, it's grapefruit, all right?
Oh yeah, it's my favourite flavour. Perfect, thank you. Don't want to run out of that. When it's your favourite drink in the whole wide world, you've always got to be ready. Element is an electrolyte drink mix with a formula to keep you properly hydrated for longer. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. It is legit. Being properly hydrated at work, essential. I want to work as well as I possibly can. But being properly hydrated while I am
Hang on, we're back at the workshop again.
But being properly hydrated while exercising, even more critical. Recently, I decided I want to be able to train to run a marathon distance. That's a blooming long way. A year and a half ago, I couldn't run 5 kilometers without having to do a little bit of walking as well.
We're definitely back at the workshop. That's literally my bike right there.
I think we are in the jewellery quarter in Birmingham. But I've been training hard, listening to what my watch tells me, making sure I get my sleep, and making sure I'm properly hydrated. And the proper hydration is exclusively thanks to Element. It is a part of my daily ritual. My personal favourite flavours are grapefruit salt, orange salt. And what's your favourite flavour?
Citrus.
Snap, me too. So if you would like a delicious drink mix to keep you properly hydrated, please go to drinklmnt.com/forge, where with every purchase, code FORGE is going to get you a free sample pack with all their flavours. I think Google Maps took us the wrong place, Jamie.
The part of the job that I do is I get everything to pretty much 100% working, hardened and tempered, and clicking and ticking. If we have a look at this one, this is a 28 bore shotgun, so similar to what we've been looking at earlier in the day. So most of the work's done here, so the safety system is working, the lever work is working, gun's opening, eject system's on. So the last stage now is just to regulate the ejector timing. So we just put 2 snap cap rounds in, close the gun up. If we open slowly.
That is beautiful.
Now, although that might have looked together, that was not timed enough for me.
So when you say not timed enough, you want them both to fire at the identical
if
time?
I brace myself against the gun, you can hear that out of time click, click, click. So what we'll do is we'll adjust the timing on the lock work. So, cover plate open, locks out. So the locks at this point are all hardened and tempered and working.
Is the firing pin integral to the lock there?
Yeah, our shotgun's the firing pin's integral. Double
Okay.
rifle's separate firing pin.
Okay, so that's why this lock looks different to the lock that Pete was working on.
Yeah.
Because here, this has been necked down into a little firing pin, whereas on Pete's it wasn't, it was just a hammer. And that must be very difficult because that has to line up with the hole that the firing pin goes through perfectly as it swings through.
Exactly right. What I'm going to do now is just take the mainspring off, and we're going to adjust the amount of material that's on the firing end of the mainspring.
And how did you know it was the left side of the gun that was fast and not the right side of the gun? Did you just hear it and you knew?
Yeah, I can hear that the one's firing before the other, and you can just perceive it. It's very subtle.
That's amazing.
So both locks cocked then,
Yeah.
both lead perfect timed.
That was a lot better. Even my ear could tell that they were firing
Yeah.
at the same time. And so which of these components then get hardened and tempered in the action?
So you've got the lock work, has its hardening and tempering, and the ejector work has its hardening and tempering. The extractors, the cam, which is drawing the extractors in and out and recocking the ejector system, that's hardened and tempered.
And do you do all your hardening and tempering of these parts in-house?
We do.
And is it done after you have the perfect action?
Yeah, so you'd want to get your gun working to somewhat of a state, in soft state, to find out what else it needs doing, adjusting. You don't want to repeatedly keep firing the gun in a soft state. So we do a first stage of hardening on the hammer and the sear nose so that you can fire the lock and it's not going to damage the hammer and the bent on the hammer. They'll have a first stage of the lock work hardening, and then I'll go over the full spectrum of connect up get everything completely perfect, and then I'll do a final reharden and temper across the whole lock components, ejector components, all the other components have any kind of force or wear related issues on them.
Because obviously one of the challenges of hardening is you put scale on it. You know? It's going to affect the fit up and all of these things.
Yeah.
So kind of how do you deal with this?
I use a flame harden using oxyacetylene, so I can locally harden the working areas only, and then I'll polish off the scale with fine paper like Worn 400, and then in a Bunsen burner just moving the workpiece in the flame until I get the temper colours that I'm happy with, and then I'll just leave it to air cool or quench at that.
Oh, you're hardening each little bit at a time?
Each bit at a time.
And this is P20 steel as well?
Yep.
Fascinating. This is the same steel that we made the drop forging dies from for the coins in the recent video.
So then I just use the pliers as a bit of a heat sink, and then we'll harden the vent of the hammer and quench.
And what's great about this spot hardening is you're causing really almost no chance of getting any warpage. There's so little oxidation happening because it's in just a tiny little area. It doesn't have to be hot for long, and you control exactly the areas that are hard and not.
So that's all 3 areas or working areas of the lock hammer hardened, and then the next process there would be clean all that scale off just with some light paper, some Worn 400. The colours I'm looking for here is gold just edging into a bit of purple showing.
That's beautiful.
After all the connect-up side of things is taken care of and the gun is now a functioning, clicking and ticking gun, the next stage will be moving on to stocking the gun. All the hardening and tempering process, we leave all the hardening and tempering colours on, so we're not removing any unnecessary material yet because the gun's going to be worked. Once it gets through stocking, it's going to be test shot rigorously. There's no sense in taking everything up to 1200 finish if we're then going to work the gun thousands of times over.
Okay. So it's going to stay like this until the very, very end stages.
Yeah.
So all these things that very hard to, fully understand the order of operations and how everything goes together into the finished piece. Just before we get to the stocks, you guys are over here working away on stuff.
We are.
What's the score? What are you working on?
So we're the Apprentices, and so at the minute, I'm on my final thing that you do in your first 6 months. So you make your toolkit the first 6 months because it's all kind of tools you can't just buy off the shelf, so you've got to make it yourself.
So what are some of the tools that you've made? Spring clamp?
So you can use that on what Stu showed you earlier for like the locks.
That is beautiful!
So like stuff like this is a die plate, a lock lifting tool. All the tools that you make, it gives you a good understanding on how to use like the milling machine, the lathe, surface grinders, everything like that. It gives you a good
was this the
basic
first
knowledge.
time that you ever used a British
Yeah.
working here?
So before this, I was a lifeguard.
No way!
Yeah, so
sweet.
it's a bit of a change. I'd never touched a fire or anything like that. I had no experience at all, really.
And they've taught you everything about getting here, using the hand tools,
Yeah.
using the Bridgeport milling machine. That's a beautiful Bridgeport, by the way. That's a really nice Bridgeport. And the current project they've got you working on, what is it?
So this is the square block test. So you get given just a big block of steel and it gets passed around the workshop and everyone gives it a good whack, and then Jim put a centre punch hole in the really big dent. Then after that you've got to get it all flat and square, and then you've got to polish it up.
Are you allowed to use the mill?
No, so it's all by hand, all files. These have been basically my best friends for like the last few months. Well, I started it the 17th of March, it's now the 29th of April, so yeah.
A month and a half on the block?
Yep.
You've spent a month and a half on the block?
Yeah, so I have about
What
2.5 days a week.
What sort of torture are
on
you
it.
guys doing to your colleagues over here?
Well, obviously it's to teach you how to file flat and square, but it's also to sort of see if you can do it yourself and just stand at your bench for however many hours it takes to do something.
God, you know how special it is that stuff like this is still happening? Apprenticeships like this are still happening.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know, sometimes you think that these things are a story of days gone by. People are learning skills like this on the job. And this is, hopefully, if you enjoy it, this is the beginning of a really unique and special career.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're also doing an apprenticeship?
I am.
What's your name?
Maddie.
Maddie, very nice to meet you. And
Nice
what
to
are you
meet you.
working on at the moment?
So I'm working on something called a fish slice, which
So did you say fish slice?
a fish slice. So it'll have a big long stick on it, and what you'll use it for is putting pins in to then stick them over the fire and harden them.
Oh, no way.
But it kind of looks like something you might, fry a fish with. So I think that's where the name comes from.
Interesting. And how long have you been here? How long has your apprenticeship been so far?
Just over a month.
This is awesome. And do you have a background in this stuff?
So I'm similar to Henry, where I haven't done anything before.
Why? What drew you to this? What was it that you went, I'm going to go do an apprenticeship with these guys?
I've always kind of suited working with my hands, and I've seen this sort of profession just coming across gunsmiths or people working in similar areas before. I'd seen it enough, so I thought, go into it and actually
Awesome.
keep it up. So
It is
yeah.
super cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. Once the action has been assembled, it's of course now time to start work on the stock. And this is the stocking shop. Hi Jordan, sorry to disturb you.
Hi,
It's very nice to meet you.
nice to meet you.
I really appreciate you taking this time to run us through what it is that you do and how you go from a slab of beautiful walnut to a gorgeous stock. Where does it all start?
So when you start a job, the first things we do, we come here and just pick the blank have been allocated to the work we need to do.
Okay, so the customer has already picked the wood that they might want on their rifle.
Yes. So we start with a blank like that, and we got the metal, so we have to fit everything in and make the shape suit to the customer with all the measurement you need, length, cast, drop.
So the crucial job that you have to do, it's obviously incredibly complicated. On this example, it's a rifle. All the material that the action, the metal sits in, needs to be removed. And you'll then be using the smoke, just like
Yes.
the guys working on the action and the
absolutely.
jointing. You use the smoke to be able to make the fit up perfect.
Yeah.
On, say, a typical shotgun, how much time does it take you to go from getting the metal to having the stock ready for stock finishing?
On the shotgun, we talk about 90 hours.
90?
Something like
90?
Yeah.
Wow.
And for something like that, it can take me 150, 160.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
To me, it's just incredible that it's financially possible to be
Yeah.
able to invest so much into making
It's quite-
the highest quality work.
Yeah, it's quite rare to make everything by hand because, like you say, it costs really expensive. So it's really rare at the moment.
What are these jaws? Is that just felt?
Felt, yeah.
Oh, lovely.
So it's to not crush, we got felt or cork too we can use.
If your toolbox disappeared, what would be the tool you'd be most sad about?
You can rebuy more or less everything, but it's the one I've made by hand there. My own one with specific job, like those one. Just help to go in ready to just cut correctly. It's beautiful.
After more than 90 hours of work, the slab of walnut gets turned into a stock that is ready for stock finishing. And this is the application of an incredible gloss finish, all with oil.
Well, go for it.
Jules, it was lovely to meet you.
And nice to meet you, sir.
Thank you so much for letting us have a few minutes of your time to learn about stock finishing. I mean, this is an incredibly important part of the gun. I mean, this is like the customer's key interaction with it is how the stock looks and feels.
Absolutely.
And I presume you have spent a good amount of your life dedicated to doing the best job possible at this.
I mean, I've been here 10 years, and then previous to that, 30 years at the bench.
Wow.
Yeah, so right from schoolboy, really.
So the stocks come to you from the stock maker, kind of looking like this. What is it that you call this step? How it looks now? This is in the...
How it looks now, we've cleaned this stock, and I'm going to start and apply some red oil to it, and that's going to be the beginning of the colouring and filling process.
And red oil, it's a mix of, you were saying linseed oil and a root?
Linseed oil and alkanut root. So this is our red oil, and I normally put ourselves a good bit on like that, and then we'll start and work it in to the wood.
And it just goes on by hand?
Just literally by hand, and that red oil will penetrate over the next few hours. And obviously this is a dry side again, so decent little bit on there. And really, there's enough here to sort of do the back end of this stock. This will be the first coat, and we'll do this for probably 2 weeks, and that will get us through the first stage of the filling process. So 2 weeks of red oiling, and then we start then the filling up to checkering point. We'll fill the stock, and then really it'll sit here until final assembly, and that's then when we'll start putting that super high gloss finish. For this sort of first few applications, I do it with by hand, and then later we start and wear the gloves.
But I presume this is nice because you can really feel everything.
You can
if
feel
you
everything.
feel a little snag or a little something in the surface that's not right.
That's the thing about sort of bare hands, really. Yeah, you get to feel. You just get a feel for everything, really, and that's just, like I say, the first coat, and it'll change colour, and it'll look very different within a week.
And so then weeks down the line, instead of kind of putting on quite so much red oil, you're putting on tiny dabs of oil and hardener. With ever so little.
That is an example of the finish we get to pre-checkering. Once that is checkered, I'll probably approach that with some very light coats of finishing oil to bring that super gloss finish up.
Utterly incredible what you can achieve with these pieces of wood. Utterly incredible.
Again, we go back to that sort of 1,000+ coats, and that's what gets us this high gloss finish.
We are now going to see one of the parts I'm most excited for, the engraving. Hey guys.
Hi, how are you doing? You're good?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah, pleased to meet you.
It's good to meet you. I'm Alec.
I'm Leo, pleased to meet you. This is my apprentice, Killen.
Hello.
Hey, how are you, Killen?
I'm good, thanks.
Good to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
How long have you been here?
Well, I've been here for just 10 months. I came from the School of Jewellery.
Oh, just down the road in the jewellery quarter?
Yeah, Leo was my engraving teacher.
Yes, I work part-time, once a week at the university for engraving course, basically. And Killen was one of my students there, so yeah, that's how we both met each other.
You studied engraving in Belgium?
Yes, indeed.
And now how long have you worked here for?
So it's been 7 years now that I'm here. In terms of the tools, basically, so we have the tool
Is this a
here.
Lindsay handpiece?
This is a Lindsay handpiece. We give it the nickname of the AK-47 of the pneumatic systems because it's very simple in its functioning. You do not have as many parameters as you would have on a GRS.
Because I've got a GRS.
Yes.
Much like this. So your preference is the Lindsay system over the GRS.
Oh, 100 times, definitely.
Yeah?
I feel like this is just an extension of my hands, really. With that, basically, I have all the different tools that you can see here as well. So they are all the different chisel that I sharpen different angles for different type of job, basically. We have punches, we have round chisel. There is basically a tool for every necessity, basically.
And so what do you have on the go at the moment? What are you doing today?
So today I'm doing it a little oval, basically. So this is a gold oval that is inlaid into the wood by the stockers, basically. And my job here is to trace and engrave the initials of the customer with some details up and down. It's really the one thing that comes back always the same whenever we have regular customers. You see, they may have very different gun, but the oval is the one way to recognize, yes, that is Mr. Something, basically, gun. So yeah.
Are these your drawings here?
Yes, these are the drawings that I did back at the time where I was at school. So this was my professional qualification when I had to pass my last exam. This one I had the chance actually to engrave the game scene.
You do? And do you have a picture of it?
Yeah, I have the piece actually.
Holy crap. That is nuts.
Thank you so much.
I mean, it's photorealism in engraving. It's unbelievable.
That was my first attempt with the pneumatic chisel, basically.
Oh, wait, that was your first attempt with it?
Pneumatic chisel, yes.
You're joking?
No, really. So that, for example, was the first game scene I ever did.
Is this a piece that you've worked on as well?
Yes, this is a double rifle, basically, so with house scrolls and inlays, basically. So we got the classic Westley Richards scroll on the side of the action with the name of the firm in a banner. We got a bit of scroll alongside the quarter rib as well. Bit of inlay work also on the barrels, the safe, the golden safe. And on the other side of the gun, we have a game scene with buffalo in Africa.
And on this piece here, all this inlay, all this engraving, how much time are we talking went into that?
A month and a half to do it all.
So when you're trying to put a game scene, how do you take the image that you have and transfer it onto there to be able to start cutting?
I use this kind of tool here that we call a pantograph. So this is a kind of articulated arm that reproduces the movements you do in big into a smaller scale. So you put your piece like that here, basically, then you close it. You have to make sure that it's well aligned, so it takes a whole time to calibrate the drawing with the plate, so that's why you can move the plate
in XY rotation.
Yeah, XY, so there you go. You can move it in all the direction you want. You can rotate and everything. Then I simply take my tracer, basically. So this is like a scriber. I put it into here, and then I start to just draw on it with the articulated
And you just
arm.
scratch it on, scribe it on effectively.
Yeah, exactly. It's just scribe it on. Yeah.
Leo, it has been an absolute pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much, Alec. It was a pleasure as well. So
thank you for sharing your craft with us.
Pleasure, honestly.
Now it's on to the finishing shop. Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Darrington?
Good, thank you very much.
Great to meet you. I would love to learn all about what it is that you do here in the finishing shop.
So, Finishing covers a broad spectrum, so once the guns have been stocked and engraved, they'll come into here, we'll check them over for all of the engraving, make sure the engraving's all perfect to the customer's spec, at which point I'll polish it all up, make sure it looks absolutely spiffy so there's no marks or dents or anything, and then I send all the metalwork out for its finishing touches, so whether it's colour hardened or blacking. We'll also test shoot them, so the shotguns go for, I think it's 250 rounds, checking, making sure it's all flawless functioning. Same with the double rifles.
Every shotgun that leaves
every
has
shotgun
shot 250 rounds
Yes.
in the range downstairs.
Yes, every gun.
Every Westley Richards gun gets that.
Yes.
To know this is not only a bit of art, but this is functional art.
Correct. Every rifle is shot, and we have finished targets with every rifle that go out with them.
So you explained to me that some of the different finishing options happen here and some of them happen elsewhere. For example, the color case hardening that makes these beautiful colors on action, that's done just down the road. The barrels are blackened at a specialist firm. The hot black, like on the trigger guard, you guys do here, and you also do the hot blue here in this room, right?
So you know when you like temper your steel and stuff,
Yeah.
you take it through the different colors.
Yes.
So when we blue stuff like the springs and so on our finished bolt action, so like with this, we'll have the springs blued on this and the lever there, the trigger, and along with this gun over here, we've got the pins are blued, nice electric blue.
Oh, beautiful.
So I'm going to polish up these triggers, make them nice and shiny, ready for bluing, because anything less than a mirror finish leaves quite a dull blue, whereas if you get it as high a quality finish as you can get, whether you mop it or finish it just with a really high hand polish, then it gives the best blue.
And so what grit do you have and what's the
I'm
backer?
currently going to start with 600, and my backer is a steel rod with some rubber bar on it. Like I have Bunsen burner rubber tubing on that one. It forms around the shape better, so it helps polish nicer.
A little bit of softness.
It constantly stays formed to the contours.
God, I'm just stealing all these trade secrets. It's going to go straight back to my workshop.
So you know red Scotch?
Yeah?
Yeah. So they do different grits. So the white one is really soft.
It has no grit. You load polishing compounds into it. So has this got anything loaded on it?
Yeah, I use Autosol, literally just the stuff that you use for motorbike metalwork. And I just use that for polishing things. So this is how I finish everything up with my barrels and so on.
More things for the shopping list.
So we're going to use the heat from the Bunsen burner to blue this trigger. In order to do that, we have a tray filled with copper filings that essentially helps distribute all the heat.
Copper filings. And you're just degreasing with brake cleaner?
Yep, so we'll offer that into the tray, and then we will very slowly, and this process can take about 10-15 minutes, but all we'll do is just very slowly use the Bunsen burner to heat up the tray. So if you're using like the blowtorch, you're just doing it straight on the Bunsen burner.
Very hard to get even.
It's very harsh just in one point, and then if it starts to go to the blue, so you'll see that you end up kind of chasing the colours, and like with tempering turn screws or anything, as soon as you start to get to that perfect gold, if you put the heat too much in one area, it starts to go that darker gold to almost purple. Well, you don't want that. When you're trying to get the blue, you don't want to take it too far in certain areas.
So just make sure that temperature rises, but it doesn't, you're not overshooting it as you're getting the colours.
Correct.
You're bluing another component here?
Yeah, so this will be the same process, but I'm going to do it faster with a blowtorch. It's a lot of manoeuvring and making sure you heat it up from different angles, and you'll see that it's starting to go golden now. And there we go, it's starting to go into purple, starting to go into blue, and then all we'll do is pop it onto a steel block as a heat sink. So as you can see, the trigger's starting to go golden straw colour.
Well, that is gorgeous. And that's it?
That's it.
You're also going to be finishing some of the components in the action?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So as you can see over here is we've stripped it apart. So here is spotted or jeweled. So it's like watches, the insides of watches and so on. So I believe in engineering it's also called machine turning.
I've heard, there we go, that's the word that I've heard before.
So on the insides of all of the guns we make sure that they're immaculate.
Gorgeous.
So we'll polish certain surfaces to chrome. Obviously some surfaces really matter where the sears engage with the hammers and so on, so that gives you your trigger pulls and so on. However, everything that's visible we like to polish, make sure it's perfectly clean, and then we do the spotting or the machine turning. Do that originally to help oil and grease stay on the locks, so when they took the guns out to like Africa and India, it wouldn't rust, so it would help keep the oil and everything on the inside.
It's kind of like similar to flaking a machine bedway or something like that, right?
Yeah. Here is a lock plate I've just grabbed, so I can give it a rough polish up on the top and I'll show you spotting.
I'd love to see that, yes please.
So, all of our jeweling and spotting tools, again, are made by hand by us. It's just a piece of steel bar that will turn down, drill the centre and hollow it out, and then just some rubber that you'll turn down so it just narrowly fits into the front. And it's oversized, then you just grind it down on a big grinder.
Oh, beautiful. And you make these all yourself?
This is a bar where we tried using different grits. Just to give an example, so the different grits of the lapping paste that we use for cutting it would give you different like spots.
So you can't have too fine of a lapping paste?
No.
Because otherwise it's not deep enough to actually hold the oil.
That's correct.
So it's an important consideration. And you said 320 is the sweet spot?
Yeah, we just use grinding dust mixed with a bit of York's paste.
York's paste and grinding dust?
Yeah, so the York's like the plumber's paste, but that mixed with literally just like a bag of grinding dust.
What do you mean,
400 grit like emery dust, but it's just separate dust. You just mix it together.
I'm so excited because I
Everything's going to be tested.
We should be trying and do some spotting. Let's see how it goes. I'm going to be finding all sorts of things to spot in the work and future projects. Does all of the spotting on all of the guns and all of the components happen at this pillar drill?
Yes.
So there's an overlap of 1/2 to 3/4, depending on whether it's going side to side or up and down.
Yeah, so all you want to do is just smother it all over the component. So then our first spot will start here, and you literally just touch it on, and you see how it's starting. Move to the next increment. And then we'll just move all the way down.
You've done a lot of this, haven't you? That is quick.
All the way back to the start. Yeah, so it's just overlapping, so I can do a bit of a spot there.
Yeah.
And then we'll just start doing our line of spotting.
Oh, that is beautiful. And you make a single mistake, you're going to see it from a mile away. You've ruined the whole thing. You have to go back to hand sanding it and start all over.
Yep, so that's part of the joy of spotting. It's a long process, but it's about, to do all the lock work, it's probably about a day of polishing and probably about a day, half a day of spotting, depending on the size of the lock work. And we'll come all the way back.
Just 2 little touches, 2 little bumps. Back in the day, the spotting was just done with a wooden dowel and sharpened to a point.
Sharpen it in a lathe with a file, just to a point like a pencil, and then they'd put it into the pillar drill and spot away, but they'd usually do it on a random piece of steel first until it wore down to being roughly the right diameter.
Nice.
And then they'd use quite a thick cutting compound.
Do these spotting tools wear out?
These ones,
rubber in them?
They do. They're a lot slower to wear out.
Man, you are a pro. It's so cool to see how smoothly and quickly you do this.
Well, when I first started, I was just spotting boy. So
endlessly spotting.
Yeah, my desk was just covered in locks, and all I did all day long was spot. What we'll do is we'll wash it off with paraffin just to get all the paste off it.
Paraffin?
So all we'll do is just use that to carefully clean it all off.
Paraffin WD-40 mix?
Yep.
That's the secret. That is just gorgeous. What a beautiful finish. Oh, I've definitely got to spot some stuff, Jamie. That is incredible. What a treat. Well, you guys are not just craftsmen, but artists.
Thank you.
And I'm just so grateful that you would share this with me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for giving me an insight into your world. What beautiful, beautiful work. This is a level of craftsmanship that is going to be impossible to convey on the camera. But when you see the attention to detail that every single person here has put into it, over the months and months that it takes to make one of these guns, oh my goodness. I personally find it really quite inspirational. It has been an incredible pleasure to be able to visit Westley Richards. So thank you very much to the Westley Richards team for having us for these amazing 2 days. I'm so grateful to have been able to see this childhood dream to see a great British gunmaker like this. Of course, please go to drinklmnt.com/forge. They were today's sponsor. Get yourself some electrolytes and stay hydrated. See you very soon. Bye-bye. What caliber is this? This is a 577 Nitro Express. Look at that monster. And that, Jamie, that is engraving that Leo did upstairs. He is incredible. Look at that art. That is incredible. Wow. Look at that elephant, Jamie.